Hello, everybody. It's about that time. Let's go see what's in the fridge today. Hey everybody, welcome to Gregsbeerreviews. Today, thanks a bunch for stopping by. Today's beer comes from Mother's Brewing. These guys out in Missouri. This is their MILF, Mother's Imperial Liquid Fantasy, and that MILF has a couple of other meanings too. We won't go into that. I have had several of these beers. I did some a couple of years ago that were sent to me. And now Mr. Fudge has sent me several different versions that we have done. This is the 2018 edition, January 3rd of 2018, 11% ABV. I found these beers very tasty. They're barrel-aged beers. And of course, like I told you on the other ones that we did recently from these, this one has a new label on it as opposed to the 2017 and the 2016 edition. So they've updated that anyway. 12-ounce bottle. I'm not going to read the commercial description on Beer Advocate, and there is none since I've read it. And basically, Beer Advocate lumps them all together no matter what the year is or what the ABV is. They put them all in the same category. Untapped has the 2018 listed separately. 11%, 50 IBUs listed here on this one. And I don't think there's anything else on the notes that Mr. Fudge has sent me. The other two had been aged in 5 different barrels. This one has only been aged in 4 barrels. But Untapped has that listed where it's not telling me what 4 barrels they used on this particular one. So I can't tell you what that is. I don't have that info, guys, because Untapped doesn't have it listed. And Beer Advocate has them all clumped together where they're listing 5 different ones, which is wrong for this. So it is what it is. 11%, 50 IBUs. We got the date, 1/3/18. So the 19 is probably out right now, but he did not send me that one unless they changed the name of it. He did send me another one from Mother's. But it doesn't have the MILF label on it. And we may do that one in the next couple of days. Because I think it is a big beer too. So, let's get on with this and see what we have in store today. Nice is just a little teeny bit of smoke, not a lot. We're going to go straight down the center on this one since it's an 11%er. And pour it about as aggressive as I can pour this. Straight down the center. Big bubbles on the top from that super aggressive pour. About a finger of head on that. Pitch black, guys. Not a lot of light coming through it. Looks very much reminiscent of the earlier versions that we've done. Looks very appropriate for a barrel-aged Imperial Stout. To the nose we go. Definitely getting the bourbon notes. It seems to me on this particular one, like I said, I don't know what barrels they use because they use rum and sherry and whiskey and bourbon barrels on some of those other ones. I don't know what barrels they've used on this one. But the bourbon is a little more prominent on this one. And I would think that would be the case. If you're using 5 barrels, it's going to be a little more diluted than it is from 4 barrels because there's one less barrel and you're blending 4 beers instead of 5 beers. So, it makes sense to me. Bourbon notes are there, roasted malt is there, maybe a little molasses, slight hint of some bittersweet chocolate, and maybe be some dark fruits in there, but I am getting more bourbon notes on this than I did on the 2 previous ones that I've done. Smells awesome. It really, really does. Smells really, really good. Let's dive in. Yeah. Final beer of the evening for me. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, Mr. Fudge. Most definitely, the bourbon notes are a little more prominent on this one. And to me, I'm not looking for 2, 3, 4, 5 different barrels to blend a beer, because I'm a big bourbon note fan. I don't drink bourbon anymore, but I like when they put the whole batch in a bourbon barrel, first run barrel, never had beer in it before. And I get those big, strong bourbon aromas and bourbon taste. And I can do that with rum. Put it all in the same barrel. Whiskey, put it all in the same barrel. Whatever barrel you're going to do, don't put it in 2, 3, 4, 5 different barrels and blend it, because it's losing a little bit. You're going to get a little bit more complex beer by doing that, because you're going to get the notes of each barrel. But when you use one barrel, you're going to get that note exclusively, a little woodiness, maybe a little vanilla or some caramel from the barrel. But to me, when they do 2, 3, 4, 5 different barrels, it kind of muddies up the taste and aromas that you're going to get out of that. So, I'm not a big fan of blended beers. I just assume to put them in one particular barrel. If you want to do 5 different barrels, do 5 different batches. Put all this batch in the rum barrels. Put all this batch in the whiskey barrels. Put all this batch in the brandy barrels. Put all this batch in the sherry barrels, or the grape, or the Sauvignon, or whatever barrel you want to put it in. Put it all in that. And of course, it may take away from the complexity of it over time, but you're going to get more prominent notes from each one of those barrels instead of blending 2, 3, 4, 5 different barrels. That's just my opinion, though, guys. But it is what it is, you know. They must sell a ton of this because they keep doing it year after year. But I'm glad they dropped from 5 down to 4. I don't know which 4 they did, but to me it seems like the bourbon notes are a little more prominent now. That's a very, very pleasant beer to drink. I think this is a little more impressive than the 5-barrel blended version, as opposed to this one being a 4-barrel. So, like I said, not knowing which barrels they did, I am getting stronger bourbon notes. So, let me sip on this, come up to room temperature, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, I'm back. Been sipping on it about 45 minutes or so. Very tasty beer. I like this one a little bit better than the 2 previous ones we've done, because they've only used 4 barrels to age it in instead of 5. And on top of that, it is a more recent edition, being a 2018 edition opposed to a 2017 and a 2016, which used 5 barrels. I'm getting more bourbon notes on this one, and I enjoy that a little bit more because I'm getting more of the bourbon notes instead of a lot of other stuff that I'm not a big fan of, the Cabernet barrels, sherry barrels. So I find this a little more tasty. 1, because it's fresher. 2, because they've only used 4 barrels instead of 5. I prefer a single barrel. And if you want to do 4 different versions, put each version in a different barrel. So, but it does add a little complexity to the beer. But I find this one a little more tasty. Just my opinion, though, guys. So, final chug on this one. Big time bourbon notes on this. More so than the previous versions. I think this is a little more tastier. A little bit more bourbon aroma. A little more bourbon taste. So, and that's what I'm looking for in a bourbon barrel aged beer. Not so much either in a whiskey or rum or sherry or whatever. Very nice. Final chug. Very, very nice, guys. Like I said, I think this is a little tastier to me. Only being done in 4 barrels instead of 5. And I'm not going to beat that dead horse to death. I like this a little more. More prominent bourbon notes than the 2017 and 2016 had. So, with that being said, guys, 9 out of 10 on this one for me. I'm going to give this one a 97. Pretty impressive beer. I would buy this beer if I could get it here. This one, especially this one, is a little more tastier than what I've had previously. So, I like the bigger bourbon notes that I'm getting. Over to Beer Advocate, they say 4.27 in their outstanding range, and over to Untappd, they have it at 4.25. I'm giving a little bit better numbers in both of those because of the bigger bourbon notes that I'm getting on this particular beer. So, if you've had the 2018 edition of the MILF from Mother's Brewing, let me know what you think, and if you agree or disagree, give me some comments back on this one, guys. I would buy this beer. That's the biggest recommendation I could give a beer. I think the bourbon notes are a little more prominent on this one. So, if you've had it, let me know what you think. Can we meet again? Let's go see what's in the fridge.